silent, please. Thank you. So we are on the third item on our agenda, which is approval of minutes. We have, if I'm correct, 3 sets of minutes to discuss and approve. So let's start with June 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. Can I ask the Commission, have you had a chance to review these minutes? Do you have any questions or comments? Commissioner Title?
I apologize. I had caught some typos and not checked them yet. Can we do the votes for these subject to ministerial changes?
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the minutes from June 25th? So then, can I ask please for a motion to approve the minutes from June 25th, 2019, subject to the ministerial changes that will be required? Can I have a second, please? Second. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the minutes from June 25th, 2019. Next are meeting minutes from June 27th, 2019. Can I ask the Commission, have you had a chance to review those, and are there any questions or comments? Commissioner Tyler, do you have the same request? Any other questions or comments? Then please could I ask for a motion to approve the minutes for June 27, 2019, subject to ministerial changes suggested by Commissioner Title? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the minutes from June 27, 2019, subject to ministerial changes. Last set of minutes are from October 10th, 2019. Again, Commissioner Tyler, you would like the same? Thank you. Then can I ask the Commission if they had a chance to review these minutes? Are there any questions or comments? And can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the minutes from October 10th, 2019, subject to the ministerial changes suggested by Commissioner Title? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the minutes from October 10th, 2019, subject to ministerial changes. Thank you. I think we're caught up with minutes, so to the legal team, thanks very much for your help in doing this. The next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's report. Mr. Executive Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
For some reason, my clicker is less effective than normal. Maybe my clicking technique is less effective than normal. Are you cursing me? There we go. Thank you, Mr. Executive Director. Once again, you proved to be a jack of all trades.
Many responsibilities.
Before we get into the licensing update, are there any new employees
There
to
are.
introduce?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So first, I'd like to introduce 2 new employees and also identify a returning employee. So first is Yen Do. Yen has joined the Commission as a fiscal specialist. In that role, she's responsible for overseeing and managing our non-tax revenue accounting. In addition, she'll be responsible for ensuring that the Commission's revenue accounting adheres to Commission policy and regulations as well as state finance law. She joins us most recently from UMass Boston, where she was a financial analyst, and there she assisted in the financial management oversight of the grant office and monitored cash management for federally funded grants within the financial aid office. So Yen Do has joined us as a fiscal specialist.
Welcome. Lawyer or non-lawyer?
She's a non-lawyer.
Well, great to have you on board. Mr. Executive Director.
I'd next like to introduce 2 lawyers. Seriously, actually. First is Rebecca Lopez. Rebecca joins us as an Associate Enforcement Counsel. In that role, she's responsible for assisting our investigations and enforcement unit regarding legal matters with licensing, inspections, investigations, and suitability issues. She comes to us most recently from Community Legal Aid based in Springfield, where she was a staff attorney in the elder law unit. There, she advised and represented clients in matters related to accessing or maintaining government benefits. Prior to that role, she was a staff attorney with the Massachusetts Fair Housing Center in Holyoke. So please join me in welcoming Rebecca to the
Rebecca, welcome. Notwithstanding the fact that you are an attorney, you're very welcome and delighted to have you part of the Commission. Mr. Executive Director.
I'd also like to reintroduce or identify that Andrew Carter has pivoted into the role of an Associate Enforcement Counsel. So he has broadened his horizons here in the Commission and joins Rebecca as an Associate Enforcement Counsel. So that staff adjustment or change has been made.
Welcome back, Andrew. Is this our first returning employee?
It is, yeah.
I think hopefully that's a continuing precedent. But welcome back. Well, but if they do, we want them. But
Why would they come back?
well, if they leave, I am not suggesting we try to get them to leave, but if they do leave, it's nice to have them come back.
Moving along,
Mr. Executive Director, any job postings?
at this point, no, we have a number of roles. We can, as you can see, we continue to fill roles periodically, and all of that is, we have a number of postings that have closed. We're actively interviewing to bolster each of our different departments. So we are an agency that continues to grow, and we're excited about that, and also excited about welcoming folks with a diverse skill set and diverse backgrounds to further inform a lot of our work, as well as to assist the commission in their policy-making roles. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else before we move into your licensing update? Go ahead, Ben.
So this is the typical data as presented and extracted from the Mass Cannabis Industry Portal. You'll see here there's a total of 395 applications that have submitted all 4 packets and are therefore considered or pending review, and the breakdown obviously in the right-hand column there. Next is a breakdown of those 395 of the total, the total portal as a whole. Again, the 395 that are pending, 389 have been withdrawn, 3,510 are incomplete or therefore not yet submitted 4 packets. To date, 4 applications have been denied and 207 considered and approved.
Thank you.
Next is a breakdown of those applications that have been, licenses that have been approved by their category. Again, see that total is 207. The majority, or 80, are retail applications or licenses, 64 cultivation, and 53 product manufacturing.
Thanks. Any questions before we go on?
Of those 287, this is a status as far as where they are in our licensing process. Again, you'll see that there's 8 that have been provisionally approved, 108 provisional licenses. The distinction there is that provisionally approved is not yet paid their license fee. 14 final licenses and 77 entities have commenced their operations. This next slide indicates their status as far as general applicant, RMD, economic empowerment, priority applicant, or expedited review. The 606 applications represent 319 separate entities. I should also indicate the expedited review is a fluid number at this point, as folks are identified continuously for that status. Related to that is notice that will be sent to all applicants regarding the ability to identify as being eligible for expedited review. So I expect that number to continue to rise.
Great. Thank you.
The next slide is a bit of a demographic or disadvantaged business enterprise statistics. This is information that is supplied and submitted by the applicant. You'll see that of the 606 total applications, there's 503, the majority, 83%, have not identified as a DBE business. This is, again, related to the expedited review process, a number that will be modified or fluid as well, but I think also allow us to be a lot more precise and accurate with that data.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Tyler.
I just wanted to confirm this because I've said it in public a few times since the last meeting. If a business would like to be certified as one of those categories, there's no reason for them to wait to pursue it, right? To start the training, et cetera.
That's absolutely the case.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
This next slide indicates a bit of or peels the curtain back a little bit on our review, which is that 156 have been submitted. Again, the 4 packets are awaiting initial review. 156 have been reopened, requiring additional information. 63 await additional third-party responses. As a reminder, those third-party responses include a background check as well as municipal notice. 20 are before you for consideration today, and 211 have been considered by the Commission.
Thank you. Questions?
The next 2 slides indicate a bit of a geographic breakdown across the Commonwealth. The first one here is total applications pending and where they hail from or where they intend to be located across the Commonwealth by county. Again, this is all applications. This next slide is specific to retail applications, and again, the breakdown is by county.
Thank you.
This next slide is a indication of a total universe as far as by license type where folks are at in the process. Again, it's busy, but I think it's informative as far as what is pending in the queue, again, regarding license type and where they are in their process as far as pending or actually having commenced their operations. The next few slides are relative to agents. You'll see there's 9,661 total agent applications. However, that universe is 6,715 are actually active. Of our workload, there's 234 that are either pending as establishment agents or as laboratory agents. Of that group, there's 102 that have not yet been reviewed, 125 that require additional information, 7 awaiting a third-party response. Again, as a reminder, that context is a fingerprint check for laboratory agents. And again, as these are approved administratively on a rolling basis, there are 0 that are awaiting approval at this point.
Great, thank you.
Again, related to the demographics of pending agents, you'll see that the majority, 66.5%, have identified as male. And again, this is a demographic based on gender of agents. This next slide, continuing with demographics, is race or ethnicity. And again, you'll see that 73.4% have identified as white. The next 2 slides really drill down further into our medical use of marijuana program. You'll see there's a total of 162 license applications. And again, the breakdown is on the right-hand side. Similarly, there's licenses. You see there's 96 provisional, 5 final, 54 have commenced their operations, and 10 licenses have expired. This slide indicates data relative to the medical use of marijuana program's agents. Again, you see there's a total of 4,775 active agents. On the right-hand side is additional information relative to certified patients. You'll also see the breakdown here relative to registered certifying physicians at 259, and registered certifying nurse practitioners at 64. We also do certify, have the ability to certify based on statute and regulation, physician assistants. We just don't have any.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that, but Commissioner Flanagan has a question.
Could you just define the difference between certified patients and certified active patients?
Active patients are actively making purchases during the course of the previous, I think it's 60 days or 30 days.
Okay.
They're in the system, there's 67,000 registered issued cards.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any other comments that you wish to make, Mr. Executive Director, or updates prior to moving into the licensing part of our agenda?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have 4 categories of license actions to cover in the next part of the meeting. We have 1 change of ownership, we have renewals, we have provisionals, and we have finals. So let us start with change of ownership. I believe there is only 1 on the agenda. Mr. Potvin, could you bring us up to speed on Alternative Therapy Groups Incorporated?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the licensee here, Alternative Therapies Group, is seeking a change of ownership and/or control. The licenses that this will be applied to are 5 adult use licenses and 3 medical licenses. The individual that will be acquiring ownership or control is Michael Young, who will be their Director of Operations. There were no entities disclosed in the application as acquiring ownership or control interests as part of this request. Background checks were conducted on this individual, and no suitability issues were discovered. The individual that is requesting ownership and/or control over the licenses do not appear to have exceeded any ownership or control limits over any particular license type or cultivation canopy. Therefore, Commission staff recommend review and decision on the request for the change of ownership and control, and if approved, request that their approval be subject to the conditions before you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments from the Commission? Then can I ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation or approve the change of ownership subject to the conditions requested by the staff?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? I'm sorry, Commissioner Title, you were aye? Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the change of ownership for Alternative Therapies Group Incorporated. Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. That is it for change of ownership, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Great, thank you very much. So moving on, renewals. So this requires a little bit of introduction. I have mentioned previously that my intent for both renewals and for final licenses is to consider them as a roster unless there is an explicit request by 1 or more commissioners to remove 1 or more from the rosters. So we've made progress here. We're not totally there yet, but we've made progress here. So we're not going to be able to do the entire list, which I believe is 20, if I'm correct. We're not going to be able to do the entire list as 1 roster, but we're going to do it in 4 pieces. So with apologies ahead of time to Commissioners Title and Doyle, if I haven't gotten this right, please stop me. But the 4 pieces this we're going to do a roster of ones that there are no, at least in advance, requests for conditions, and we'll do that as a roster. There are some that have been requested by Commissioner Doyle to be separated because she has conditions she would like to request. So we'll do that as a second roster. The third roster is there's one license that Commissioner Title has requested be separated from the roster because she has a condition she'd like to request. So that'll be the third roster, a roster of one. And then there are three separate licenses that Commissioner Title has requested needs to recuse herself. So we'll do that as a separate one as well. Okay? So again, to Commissioner Doyle and Commissioner Title, if I don't have this exactly right, I apologize. But let's start with the conditions requested, and then we'll go with the roster that's remaining with no conditions requested, okay? So let me start with Commissioner Doyle. The conditions, and I'm going to do this by the letters that are on the agenda. The ones that we're going to pull out for conditions are 3 for Atlantic Medicinal, which are B, C, and D on this list. P, which is on the next slide, which is Apotheca Incorporated, specifically Fitchburg Holyoke. W, which I guess is on the next slide, which is Revolutionary Clinics, Fitchburg and Somerville. X and Y, which are 7 Point of Massachusetts, 2 vertically integrated facilities. Did I get that list correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Then, Mr. Potvin, you've already made your recommendation, so unless you have anything to say on those additional ones, I'm just going to ask Commissioner Doyle to raise her concern and suggest a condition.
Thank you. I have no comments.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Doyle?
Thank you. It's a very minor condition, but I'd like each of the applicants identified by the chairman to submit an updated timeline within 60 days.
Okay. Any other comments or requests for conditions? Then I'd like to ask for a motion to approve the renewal for the candidates who were just articulated by myself, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Doyle. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the let the record show the commission unanimously approved those renewals subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Doyle. And I'm hoping that our note-taking ability is such that we got that list right, but I've got my notes here in case we need it. Thank you very much. Commissioner Title has requested condition on one of the applicants, which is M, Sanctuary Medicinals. Again, Mr. Potvin, do you have any comments on that before I ask for Commissioner Title's suggested condition?
No, sir.
Commissioner Title?
First, let me thank the staff because there was a huge change between this set and the previous set. So whatever education and guidance you gave on how to provide progress reports, I appreciate it. I saw the difference. So just one, that was M, Sanctuary Medicinals. This is a proposed condition that is identical to a previous proposed condition, which is that within 60 days, they should submit more information about an annual data review that was described in their submitted diversity plan, describing an audited report by the CEO with employment data, values of contracts and subcontractors, and additional information.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions before I ask for a motion? Okay, then I'd like to ask, please, for a motion to approve the renewal of Sanctuary Medicinals LLC, MRR 205544, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Title. Can I have such a motion, please? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Bride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the renewal of Sanctuary Medicinal, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner McBride. I'm going to go through the remaining roster other than your recusals, and then we'll do the recusal last, if that's okay. So again, I believe I've got this right. So the ones that are now remaining on the roster that no commissioner has flagged that they would like to request a condition, an additional condition, are A, let me go back to A, 1620 Labs, B, Gibbies, F, G, and H, which are all good chemistry, I and J, which is Nova Farms, Q, which is the other Apotheca that was not separated out by Commissioner, or requested to be separated out by Commissioner Doyle, R, which is Coastal Healing, S, which is Cultivate Holding, T, which is Cypress Remedies, and then, I'm sorry, I didn't do this exactly in order, but then K and L, which are two of the other revolutionary clinics that were not requested to be separated out by Commissioner Doyle. So that's the roster Can I ask, please, for a motion to approve that, the renewal for that roster?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the renewals for everybody on that roster. Thank you very much. The last two renewals are, or last three, Garden Remedies, which is you, and then two for Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts. Commissioner Title has recused herself. So again, we will treat this as one roster. So there are three renewals: Garden Remedies, which is you, and then the two Temescal Wellness N and O. Are there any requests for additional conditions or concerns? Mr. Poppin, do you have anything down on this?
No comments.
Other than your previous, thank you. Then can I please ask for a motion to approve the renewals for Garden Remedies and the two Temescal Wellness of Massachusetts renewals? Can I have a second? Thank you. Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. I will do an individual vote on this. Commissioner McBride? Aye. Commissioner Doyle, is that your name? Doyle?
Aye.
Commissioner Hoffman, aye. Commissioner Flanagan?
Aye.
Thank you. Let the record show that the Commission approved the renewal for the three companies on that roster by a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioner McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Flanagan, with Commissioner Title recusing herself. Thank you. Can we get her back? Thank you very much. I was trying to figure out, I know you have one more recusal coming up on provisional, but I'm not sure that's the first one that's coming up. No, it's not, so I apologize. We're going to do final licenses, and then, again, on final licenses, since we've already had extensive conversations about these in the provisional licensing process, we're going to try to do this as a roster. I am not aware of any commissioner's desire to pull any one of these off the roster. Is that correct? Commissioner Title, did I miss something?
Sorry, I didn't know you were supposed to submit those separately, but I do have several abstentions.
Well,
and-
but abstentions are fine. So you do want to treat this separately. Would you help me out then?
Yes, just give me a second.
Yeah, sure, take your time. Would you do it by the letter on the agenda for me?
Yes,
please?
so if, this is actually pretty clean. If we just separate them into two
So
rosters,
give me
and the first is A through G,
A through G.
and the second is H through J.
Great. Fine. Okay. Mr. Poppin, aside from the report that you've submitted, would you care to comment on any of these, or your report is sufficient?
I think the enforcement's report is sufficient.
Thank you very much. Then let me take up roster A through G on staff recommendations for final licenses. Are there any questions, concerns, or requests for additional conditions? Commissioner Title.
Just a question on Mayflower Medicinals. Will they still be using the word medicinal in their name?
At this time, there's no pending change of name requests that I'm aware of.
Do we have guidelines for using the words medicinal in your name when it's not a medicinal license?
There is a corollary. They are also an MTC that does have, and some of their operations are co-located, so the logistics over changing their name might be problematic, but
Mr. Executive Director.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you as well, Commissioner Title. I think this is something that is discussion worthy and has kind of been discussed among staff as these are considered. What is the approach going to be? And I guess without getting ahead of myself, because we really haven't, there is no solution in mind yet. This is something we have begun discussions on as far as co-location, as well as the term medicinals and other related terms and the appropriateness of such an indication, how it is perceived both within the industry as well as to the general public regarding what the actual operations are for that entity. So I guess in a way I'm teasing that this is something we're spending a lot of time thinking about internally and hope to bring an approach to the Commission for your consideration.
I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
Commissioner Flanagan?
Is this something that we can take up as a further discussion during the next regulatory process, or is it more administrative?
I think both, frankly, as far as we would explore both, and I think be prepared to make a recommendation at some point, but also I think it would be entirely appropriate as a regulatory matter as well.
Commissioner Doyle?
Mr. Chairman, on a similar note, just looking at the name of the first entity on the list.
The first
Entity on the list.
253.
Number A and B.
Mhm.
There's a reference to organics, and obviously in normal mainstream, you have to meet a certification requirement to advertise yourself as organics. It sort of exists in the cannabis world, largely on the West Coast, to my knowledge, but do we have any information about this representation of organics?
It does fall within the context of the previous mention that I made as far as the naming. That in particular, I think, raises a labeling question as well regarding what can be on a label versus in how that squares or reconciles with the requirement of the Commission's regulations that your name be on the label, but the word organic being permitted on the label. So that's actually what I think initiated the discussion internally of how best to handle that, both in the interim as well as a pending or potential regulatory matter as well. So my hope and expectation is that we can continue to explore that and really dig in on it, but also hopefully bring a recommendation to the Commission at some point in the future.
Thank you.
But your point is well taken. I think something we've identified as something we should consider.
Figured you did.
Thank you very much. So for the roster A through G, are there questions, comments, or requests for additional conditions? Other questions or comments, excuse me. Then I'd like to ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue final licenses to companies A through G on this list.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
I think it was Commissioner McBride. Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Commissioner Title?
Abstain.
Let the record show that the Commission approved the staff recommendation to issue final licenses for companies A through G on this roster, with the vote being 4 in favor, Commissioners McBride, Doyle, Hoffman, and Flanagan, with Commissioner Title abstaining. Thank you. Next, let's move on to the second roster, or sub-roster, if you will, HIJ on this list. Commissioner Title, do you have concerns or requested conditions?
No.
Anybody else have questions or concerns? Then let me ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue final licenses to companies H, I, and J on this list.
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue final licenses to companies H, I, and J on this roster. Thank you. Moving on, we've got provisional licenses, and I believe you're, Commissioner Tyler, you're accusing yourself for the first 3, is that correct? All 3 of
Yep.
Apical?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And again, because this is the first time we are being given information and an opportunity to discuss, we'll do these separately. I think there's a total of, well, there's a large number of them. I don't think
There's 20 of them.
there's 20, that's what I thought. I was about to say 20, but I wasn't sure. So we will do these separately. Let's start with, I'm sorry, I'm going backwards. Start with Apical Organics LLC. Mr. Potvin, you're up. I got you off the hook for renewals and for finals, so I hope that you saved your energy for provisional.
I was getting ready for them to be done as a roster as well, but I do it like this.
I'm the only one allowed to tell jokes here. No, I'm kidding.
The first 2 licenses will be done as one, the
Yes.
cultivation and product manufacturing. The applicant here is Apical Inc. The